And again, the breaking news tonight, the twist on the classic Friday night news dump. This time, it was a person being dumped, the former Texas Senator Phil Gramm, himself a one-time presidential candidate, stepping down tonight from his role as National General Co-Chair of the presidential campaign of John McCain. Gramm, who has been described by McCain himself as the McCain economic guru, a friend and ally for more than a decade of the candidate, teammates in the defeat of Hillary Clinton's health care plan in the 90s, as well as in Gramm's failed campaign. He came in for a firestorm of criticism after rejecting the reality of the nation's economic downturn and called America a nation of whiners. Now,
no politician can talk about, well, things are not as bad as you think, because that sounds like they don't care. And yet, you just hear this constant whining, complaining about our loss of our competitiveness, America in decline. We've never been more dominant. We've never had more natural advantages than we have today. We've sort of become a nation of whiners.
That was on July 9th. In a statement this evening, Gramm said as he resigned, quote, "It is clear to me that the Democrats want to attack me rather than debate Senator McCain on important economic issues facing the country. That kind of distraction hurts not only Senator McCain's ability to present concrete programs to deal with the country's problems, it hurts the country. To end this distraction and get on with the real debate, I hereby step down as co-chair of the McCain campaign and join the growing number of rank-and-file McCain supporters." Gramm's departure comes exactly 1 month after we first reported Gramm's role in creating and defending the Enron loophole, legislation that helped to drive up gas prices by letting speculators manipulate that market, legislation that both Republicans and Democrats have now called for undoing. A month prior, we had revealed that Gramm had been lobbying for a Swiss bank embroiled in the mortgage crisis against the interest of American homeowners. At the same time, he was writing McCain's policies on the mortgage crisis. Now we have the response from the Obama campaign to this news from spokesman Harry Savugan. The question for John McCain isn't whether Phil Gramm will continue as chairman of his campaign, but whether he will continue to keep the economic plan that Gramm authored and that represents a continuation of the policies that have failed American families for the last 8 years. Thus, lots to talk about with Chris Hayes, the Washington editor of The Nation magazine. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
So that Gramm was being paid by UBS to lobby Congress about the mortgage crisis. At the same time, he was helping to write McCain's policy about the mortgage crisis. That was not enough for them to push him off the boat. That he created the loophole, the Enron loophole, which precipitated this series of events that brought us $4 gasoline, $4.50 gasoline. That was not enough for them to push him off the boat. The final straw was that he wasn't sensitive about Americans who are suffering in this economy. Not that he helped make this economy the crap that it is right now. What explains this being the tipping point for Phil Gramm and for John McCain?
You know, there's that old line about how a gaffe is someone accidentally stating the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that wasn't the case with Phil Gramm. He was accidentally stating what Republicans really believe. I mean, Phil Gramm was this great character because he was raw economic id, right? I mean, he was the sort of unexpurgated id of the Republican Party. He was a Hooverite. I mean, basically, he thought that what was good for business is good for America, that deregulation is always good, and if wages are down, it's because you people are losers. And so he was, and the thing is that he didn't have the political sense to mask what is an unbelievably unpopular view of the economy when he talked to the press. That was his chief sin.
Right. There was a Marie Antoinette quality, and obviously Marie Antoinette never said let them eat cake, but the idea that, well, they have no bread, so let them eat cake was sort of personified by Phil Gramm.
Right, exactly. And look, I mean, the fact of the matter is that this is what the Republican coalition sort of has been a premise they've been operating on. I mean, they tout the recovery, so-called, that we've had under George W. Bush. If you look at it and you compare it to past recoveries, past periods of growth, every single metric, things are down. Business investment, wages, savings. The only thing that is up from past recoveries is corporate profits. When Phil Gramm looks at that chart, he says, hey, everything's going well, right? When most Americans look at that chart, when they look at their paycheck, when they go to the grocery store, right, when they look at their bank account, they say no, nothing's good, right? We're in bad shape right now. But Phil Gramm sort of wonderfully, from my perspective, just articulated exactly what a whole lot of the kind of people running the Republican Party believe.
Yeah. Also, I had a crooked accountant who looked just like Phil Gramm, and it's always rung in my head for that reason. But that's just personal. Now, what the timing of this? This broke at 7:30 or a little later than that Eastern Time Friday night. I'm just guessing they're hoping we might not have noticed in the middle of a big trip at some point by McCain's opponent. I would ask you if the McCain campaign is in fact hoping no one will notice, but it seems pretty obvious that pretty much no one will notice. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, no, clearly this is the classic Friday afternoon news dump. And the fact is Phil Gramm really was his liability. I think that he was kept around as long as he was because John McCain really does, as he's admitted to the Wall Street Journal editorial board, not know very much about economics. And, you know, here's this guy with a PhD who's buddies with John McCain, and John McCain can lean on him. And so, you know, politically it would have made sense to cut this guy loose a long time ago, right? But he kept him on because, you know, he actually did trust him, right? He actually was taking his advice. Finally, when it got too much, you know, they're trying to sort of sweep this under the carpet. But, you know, I wonder how much coverage is going to get come Monday morning.
Well, all right. Now, assess this politically for both of these candidates. Did Obama lose because they don't have Phil Gramm to kick around anymore? And did McCain win because not only is he gone, but theoretically, at least he has an opportunity to change his economic program into something a little less, you know, Louis the 16th?
Well, on the first question, yes, the Obama campaign loses, right? I mean, Phil Gramm is sort of this perfect economic villain, right? Because of what I said, because he articulates exactly what the kind of business interests that run the Republican Party believe about the way the economy functions. So yes, I mean, it would be great to have Phil Gramm to kick around a little more. On the sense of whether John McCain now has an opportunity to change his economic policy, he cannot. He structurally cannot change his economic policy. And the reason is that the people that bankroll the Republican Party, the interests that make up the Republican donors, stand in deep opposition to an economy that works for working people, right? I mean, a recovery in which everything is sort of not doing well except for corporate profits is not so bad for the people that run Exxon, right? Or the people that run the health insurance companies. And so it's going to be very hard for John McCain to turn around and actually give a kind of economic policy that would really work for working Americans when the people that bankroll his campaign and the coalition for which he is the head don't really want to see that happen.
Then it would seem to be incumbent on those who oppose Senator McCain to refer henceforth to his economics as the Phil Gramm Memorial Economic Policy, I suppose. Chris Hayes, who's the Washington editor of The Nation, joins us once again on this breaking news. Thank you, Chris. Have a good weekend.
You too, Keith. Thanks a lot.